welcome back to the show. I've had a really lovely few days actually. Just now, it was my birthday yesterday, and the sun has been shining here in the UK, which is very unusual for early March. And so I very much appreciated the fact that it was sunny because it hasn't been for a few years on my birthday. So I really was able to enjoy myself in the outdoors, which is amazing. Felt actually very spring-like. So thank you, weather. So I hope wherever you are in the world that you're well and that you've also been able to enjoy yourselves over the last week since I put a show out. And it just got me thinking. I'm another year older, of course. It's all happening to all of us all the time. I had a big birthday last year and it doesn't stop, does it? Keeps ticking on. And I'm very much appreciating that it keeps ticking on because it means I'm still here. I'm still able to enjoy myself, make the most of this life that we have. And it just got me thinking because I've also heard some pretty sad stories and some stories of loss in the last week or so. A good friend of mine has lost 3 people that she loved in the space of the last week. And for us last year, we lost 3 people that we love last year as well. In fact, early part of last year. And, it getting to a stage of my life where I'm at that point that a lot of my relatives are becoming pretty elderly. And of course, you know that the inevitable is around the corner at any point, hopefully further along the path and sooner. But it just, at this time in life, middle age, it gives you another sort of appreciation because when you're younger, you're so hell-bent on just getting your life started and enjoying yourself and, knuckling down and getting stuck into life. You don't really notice when people pass away because you just don't hear about it very often. And if you do hear about it, often it's sort of a couple of generations away from you. So it doesn't really affect you as much necessarily. But when you kind of in what I call the sandwich generation, which is between your children and your parents, perhaps, which is the stage I'm at the moment. And you hear, you've obviously got a lot of friends and other family members who have elderly relatives as well. And you just get to that point, you think, yeah, I got to really look at this and enjoy life to the full, because before you know it, it can be taken away, or you can become ill or incapacitated in some way. And it just makes you think a bit more about how precious life is. And this episode is not meant to be morbid. It's meant to be thought-provoking and hopefully inspirational in terms of, I guess, not taking life too seriously, but equally enjoying it and doing what you need to do whilst you're here without taking it for granted, I guess is what I want to say. So when the inevitable day happens, right, if you think about when you are no longer going to be experiencing this earthly realm, and sadly it will, it's not going to, pass any of us by, you think that you own things now, but you just don't. We don't own anything. If you really look at the nuts and bolts of it, been considering this a lot recently because I've been looking at our own wills and trusts and looking at, how to put all that together and what to do. And you're thinking, well, actually, yeah, when I'm not here anymore, obviously you can't take it with you. We know that's that good old saying, don't we? But how often do we actually think about it and take action on it? Because when we depart this earth, very quickly, somebody else, unless it's your partner who stays around, will be living in your house. They'll be driving your car. They will be decorating their home with your things that you've accumulated. They'll be reading your books. They'll be, it just won't be yours anymore. They'll be enjoying your money, And so if you think about it a different way, you could think that actually we're just renting everything. Everything that we appear to own in this life, we are actually just renting it for a time span of more or less 100 years. Okay. And if you really put that into context, therefore, everything that you buy in this life costs you your time. And so when you really think about that, if you were to look back at the end, you've got to think to yourself, okay, would I have traded X number of hours or years to be able to buy that thing? Perhaps it was the car. Perhaps it was an expensive watch. Perhaps it was, I don't know, whatever it was that you decided to purchase. Perhaps it's all those clothes, or gone out for lots of those, buying lots of cups of coffee and fancy meals, etc. Or perhaps would you have done things differently and traded it for experiences, or having more time with your loved ones, or to be able to do things that mattered to you, that made you feel good, rather than just the stuff that you accumulate. So have a really good think about that, because it kind of ties in with other episodes that I've put out there about, what is enough, or, how could you become free sooner than you think without having to have as much money as you might think you have to have. And I know, ironically, that it's not necessarily that simple. You could be in an environment where you feel, yes, well, I have to earn the money to be able to afford the house and the car and the things and the meals on the table. Of course, I get it. I totally understand that. And obviously, the material things in life can create this illusion of security. And it can even attract and open doors to different opportunities. And there's no right answer about this, about how you do spend your time and spend your life. But just when you think of it that way, and you think, gosh, am I really busting a gut just to be able to live in the box that I live in for, a few hours at the end of the day, and whilst I'm sleeping, just to get up and do it all over again? That's really the type of thing I want you to think about, because one of the people, certainly one of the people in the last week that's passed on, has been in their early 50s, working hard and, obviously presumably saving up for their future and making sure they had enough for retirement, etc. And then all of a sudden, boom, gone. Absolutely, just literally wiped off the face of the planet. And it's a horrible thing to think about, but it's also a very important thing to think about, because we do literally just rent what we have in this life. So is the stuff more important than the experiences and how you feel during your life? And I would say the most important message really that I want to get across in this episode is just to live the way that you want. Look after those around you who may be going through a tough time or need your help, or, who need your guidance in some respect, and maybe set an example to those around you, and to try and inspire them to live for the moment and enjoy this, this short little miracle we call life to the fullest. And yeah, it takes getting to a certain point in your life to have this appreciation, I feel. And I certainly feel that I have reached that point. And from this point on, I'm dedicated to making sure that every day counts, that I am, and to spend as little time as I possibly can on what feels like wasting time, if that makes sense. So I have to give myself a good talking to here and there about where I'm spending my time and what I'm doing, because whilst I have a great freedom to do what I want when I want with who I like, there is also a sense of obligation and responsibility. But it's also about how can you turn that into a fun experience and make it fun for, those who are involved. You don't have to, just be bogged down by the stuff that takes your time. How can you bring joy to that moment as well? Even something as mundane as washing up or doing the washing, you can have your music on, you can have a boogie. Right? Anyway, I'm just going on now, but I think you get the point. I think you get the message here, is that if you think about it and you think, okay, what do I have in my life? What's important to me? How do I want to spend it? Because it's going to be gone in a flash. I'll be on that deathbed, or it'll happen very quickly, and I'll wonder what it was all about, unless you really seize the day, seize the moment. So Like I say, not meant to be morbid, just meant to make you think. Grab it by the scruff of the neck and live it. See you again soon.